Real estate agent, if you alter your door knocking strategy you'll get a lot of new business, you're going to save a lot more time, and you'll also door knock on a lot more doors than you're doing right now with a lot less time. Now here's the thing, right? You've been a realtor probably for a long time and you know exactly what I'm talking about. Everybody is shouting at you to knock on more doors, do more phone calls, right? And then if you can't handle the rejections or you can't handle the actual physical discomfort of going out there and actually doing it, right? They're telling you you're in the wrong business, you should just get out and that's it, right? And that is complete utter nonsense in today's day and age, right? So let me break this down though for you so you have a constant flow of new leads and you actually never have to physically door knock ever again. Now look, when I was first learning business strategy, right, how to get leads, how to grow the business, how to actually attract clients, instead of listening to the old timers that told me how things were working, I was actually doing a little bit of research myself. And I'm sure you know who Elon Musk is. This is the guy that built SpaceX, Tesla, Neuralink, all these companies, right? So what I was doing back in the day is I was reading his biography, and in the biography he was telling about this story where he was thinking about building SpaceX, the rocket company. I'm sure you've seen the rockets going up, right? They're wanting to go to Mars, all these things. And back in the day though, this is before SpaceX actually happened, he was doing a little bit of research about the space industry. So he was talking he was talking to NASA, he was talking to Russians, he was talking to all these people that are in the industry, and they were all basically telling him that no way, it can't be done, rockets are just too expensive, like no way you can build like a private company around that. And so what Elon Musk did he was using something called first principles thinking. This is what he was talking about in the book. And what he meant by that is actually, instead of listening to all those people, he actually broke down the actual rocket, the actual product, right, that they wanted to build into its fundamental components, into the components of the rocket. So really when he did that, right, I'll show you here a picture of a rocket. He actually looked at the actual rocket, right? So we have the nose cone, the payload system, the guidance system, we have the structure system, we have the fin, nozzle, pumps, all these other parts, right? Propulsion system. He actually looked at the rockets and then the actual parts of the rocket, right? What are the materials looking like? Well, how much does all of that cost? And what he found out is that what other people were telling him was completely not true. There was a lot of expenses that were just not necessary. There was a lot of payment fees, all these things were just not necessary. They were there for actually no reason. And then what he did, right, is he established SpaceX, and now they're one of the most successful rocket companies in the world. Right? So what does this have to do with door knocking though, right? Well, the door knocking itself, the goal for you is to generate leads, right? And that's the whole point of door knocking. You really want to connect with the local homeowners. You want to have an appointment, make a lasting impression, right? And then turn that into listing so you can make some more money. But what are the core principles behind that whole process? This is something nobody ever really asked themselves, like, why are we door knocking? Why are all these realtors, right, going there with a car, going to the houses, door knocking, right, and doing all of that, right? Well, it's very simple, right? You're trying to build awareness so you can get leads, right, so you can have appointments. So you want people to know that you exist, you want people to know that they trust you, right, and then you ultimately want to have the appointments so you can sell their house. Here's the thing though, do you really need to physically door knock on doors to achieve that, right? Do you need to physically door knock on a person's house to get awareness and get them to trust you? And the answer to that is no. Now, if you love striking up conversations, you are that person that just enjoys it, it's fun for you, go for it, right? It's absolutely viable strategy for you. But for most people, it is usually not, right? And what I mean by that is that if you door knock 4 hours a day, there's only so many doors you can really door knock in that time. There's markets where it's dangerous to door knock. And so you're limited by time and you're also risking yourself physically, and it just doesn't scale, right? If you door knock for 12 hours a day, sure, you're a young guy, 20 years old, right? You can door knock 12 hours a day, you don't have family, you don't care about the free time, you can just do that the whole day, great, right? But that's not how most real estate agents are. Most real estate agents do not have 12 hours a day to door knock or risk their lives physically. So if you are somebody that thrives in door knocking, you are that natural salesperson, you love door knocking, or let's say you're a new real estate agent, right? You don't have any money at all. You need to get a deal as soon as possible. You don't have any other ways. Sure, again, go out there, door knock. It's a great way to do it, 100%, right? But from the core principles, it's simply a broken model for long-term growth of the real estate business. And the problem with that is leverage. It doesn't really scale, and there's really nothing that allows you to go outside of that. So like Elon Musk broke down the rocket itself, right? Let's break down the process of actually getting a listing appointment, actually getting the client, right? So first of all, we have the awareness, right? You have to drive the car, right? Get to the person, knock on their door. After awareness, you obviously have trust, right? So you need to have trust, and you also need to have interest in the homeowner, right, to actually list their house. Then after that, if they have the interest, if they have the trust, we have the appointment, listing appointment, and then from there, right, we have the actual client. We have the signed listing agreement. And these are the only four parts that matter, right? If you get the awareness, if you get the trust, if you get the appointment, if you get the client, at the end, you are going to generate a listing. The problem with door knocking, right, is that do you physically, as a real estate agent, do you need to travel with your car? Do you need to go physically to the person's door, right, and knock on 100, 200 doors, right, to get that listing appointment? And the answer to that is no. Physically, you do not fundamentally need to do this because nowadays we have technology, right? We have phones, we have computers. That's where most people are spending their time on, right? So physically, you do not need to do this to actually get the awareness. Now, physically, do you need to be there in person to build trust and build interest? No, you can build trust, you can build interest fully online without you physically being there. The only part that is physically required for you to be there still right now is usually the listing appointments. Listing appointments themselves, this is somewhat questionable. You could technically do a listing appointment over Zoom, right? But most of the times, listing appointments are the places where you do need to physically actually be there most of the time to actually close the listing agreement, right? But these two parts, awareness and then trust and interest, these two parts, you do not physically need to be there to generate these two things. And that's the problem with door knocking, right? Because the biggest amount of time that you're going to be spending in this process is actually not in the listing appointments. It's actually not in the listing agreement working with the client. It's actually not even the trust or interest. The biggest part with door knocking that you're going to be spending time on is the awareness part. So technically what you're doing, right, is you're knocking on 100, 200, 300 doors. You're trying to build that awareness. Takes you probably 10 hours, 20 hours, 30 hours to do this. You physically have to drive there, right? Physically knock on those doors. You have to do all those things. And then after you do this, you still have to do the trust and interest building and really all of that work also physically, right? You're doing both of these pieces physically. The problem with this, like we discussed, is usually the leverage, right? Because the thing here is most of your time, right, it's not spent with the listing appointments, it's not spent with the client, it's actually spent here in the awareness and trust building stage. So you don't really have any leverage because the truth is, yes, technically, let's say you do get a listing, that's great. Let's say you're giving it 2 listings, that's great, right? But as you start to work with those listings, you're just not gonna have time to do more door knocking, right? So really the leverage part here, it is broken model because this is only scalable so far, right? Only take you so far. And as we discussed, if you're a real estate agent, if you're a young 20-year-old guy, yes, you can door knock 4 hours a day, 5 hours a day, every single day, right? But for most people, that is not a viable, actual realistic thing to do every single day, right? So these are the only 2 reasons why you door knock, right? These are just awareness. And the only other reason that you want to do door knocking is trust and interest, right? Listing appointments and clients, these are all things that you want to be doing. These are the things that generate you money. But awareness and trust interest building, right? These both do things you can actually do a lot more smarter and a lot more effectively without you physically actually doing the door knocking. So let's go over how do you actually do that in the modern age. How can you build awareness and how can you build trust and interest without doing the physical door knocking? So here's how you do this. First thing you do is you record a video. Because nowadays, right, we have tools. We have iPhones, we have computers, and again, it's a lot more smarter to use a tool. If you have a tree, yes, you can go to the tree, you can have a butter knife and try to cut down the tree. But if you have a chainsaw, you go to the tree and you use the chainsaw, right? That is equivalent of using video marketing right now, right? You can technically, again, go to the tree, use a butter knife if you want to do that. But again, if you have a chainsaw, you just cut down the tree, it's gonna be a lot more faster, a lot more smoother process. Again, same exact thing with video. You want to use the video as a real estate agent. You don't want to use the butter knife. So first thing you do is you record a video. And this video is going to be an ad. So you're going to be running a video ad. Now let me go over an example of what this looks like. So here's a video ad from one of our clients. I'm going to play this right here.
You're in Bridgewater and you're thinking about selling and moving soon, there are a few things you should know. Obviously, our real estate market has undergone a pretty serious shift over the last 12 months. The current global climate, rising interest rates, economic trends, they've all played a pretty significant role and changed the game for buyers and sellers over the last year. And because of this, I put together a quiz for you to receive a home valuation from me personally. So if you want to learn what your house is accurately worth in the current market and what's possible for you and your family going forward, I'm personally doing custom home valuations with no strings attached. So just click the link below or above or around this video somewhere, and I will analyze your home for free, and I'll send you that report with no obligations.
Okay, so that's it. That's all you need to do, and every single real estate agent in the world can record a video like this, because every single person, real estate agent, right, they have a phone, they have an iPhone, they literally pull up the iPhone and you record this video. This is all you have to do first. Now, once you record this video, the next stage you do is you're gonna be running this as a YouTube ad. So you run this as a YouTube ad. Now this YouTube ad, it is going to run specifically targeted to the local homeowners. You can select the actual areas you want to target, right? So you can do the same exact thing as you would do with door knocking. And then after you run this YouTube video ad, right now, it's gonna go to a funnel. It's gonna go to a survey that people fill out. And you will only speak to these people that are already having the trust, they already have the interest, right? So you can just schedule a listing appointment from there. Now, so you only speak to qualified people. And by qualified, right, I just mean those people that already have the trust, they already have the interests. They already have those two things, right? So you're not spending your time in this stage. You want to spend as little time as possible in the awareness stage, right? Because the problem is, if you're spending a lot of time in the awareness stage, you're just spending time to talking to uninterested people by default, right? Because most homeowners that you door knock on, they're not going to be selling their houses anytime soon, or they're just not interested, or already have a real estate agent, whatever the case may be. So when you run this as a video ad, right, you're only going to be talking actually on the phone to those people that already have that interest and trust already built in based on the video that they watch. So because you're only talking to qualified people, right, people that actually have interest, that already have the trust, this is now a scalable method, right? Because this is now in your control, right? You can turn up the lever if you want to have more qualified people, right? If you feel like you have too many people, right, you have to do too much prospecting, meaning filtering, right? All you have to do, switch it up a little bit, right? And then now you have more control when you have more friction in the funnel. This is also scalable, right? Because like we discussed, most of your time with door knocking will be spent in the awareness stage, right? Because you're talking to people that are not interested. Maybe you find one person that is interested. So by default, if you door knock for 4 hours, 99.9% of those people, they are not going to be interested or just not interested in selling in the first place at all, right? So again, because you're only talking to qualified people, again, that's all you talk to, right? Only qualified, trusting, and interesting people. Now, this crushes door knocking, right? Because number one, this method, it is remote, right? So let's be real. At the end of the day, right, how many people actually want to drive their cars, drive to an area, door knock on houses, right, do all that work, right, just to find one or two interested people, right? It is remote, so with video marketing, you do not need to go physically there. And the thing is, you do not need to be pushy either, right? Because let's be real, if you go out there and door knocking, right, they're not gonna be like, hey, yeah, I wanna sell my house, let's sell the house, right? You have to be a little pushy, you have to use sales tactics, you have to do all those things, right? And again, this is remote and you don't need to do any of that stuff. You don't need to travel physically, you don't need to be pushy, right? Because again, you're already talking to interested people that are reaching out to you. Now, the second reason why this crushes door knocking, right, is because it is already gonna do the filtering for you, right? So imagine it this way. When you go again and you go with your car, you go to these houses, you have to go over 100 houses, just statistically speaking, right? That's over 100 houses that you have to go through just to find that one or two interested people, right? Now, all of this filtering work will be done by AI. So AI will run the ad over on YouTube, right? It's gonna run the ad, it's gonna show the ad, and the people that you'll be talking to are only gonna be the interested people, the people that actually want to know what your service is, they are interested in selling their houses, they're pretty much almost ready to go by the time you call them, right? So the filtering, this is done for you. The AI is running the ad, the AI is targeting the people, the AI is finding those people that want that. Now, again, who is going to be more efficient at finding those people, right? You just going physically house by house, door knocking on all their stores, or AI, right? AI has the information about what people are consuming. They know what the person has searched on Google. They know what the person has watched on Google or YouTube, right? They know all that data. So AI will be able to, from these thousands of homes, will be able to find those people that is going to show the ad to, right? And you'll be only talking to the best people, right, that are interested in selling their houses in that whole market population. And that is again why when you run the same thing as an ad, right, it's a lot more effective because again, AI is doing that work for you. You're just talking to already interested people that are already having the trust before you even talk to them. Yeah. Now, this third reason why this squashes door knocking, right, is again because of the half-life. And half-life in chemistry terms is just that how long time does it take for something to go in half when it is consumed. So imagine you taking a cup of coffee, right, and in coffee you have caffeine. So when you drink that caffeine, right, it goes to your bloodstream, it goes to your body, right, and then it takes some amount of time for the caffeine to half time, right, so go half in value, half in value, half in value. And that is the same thing with door knocking, right? When you door knock, it has a very short half-life, meaning, you go there, door knock, if they don't respond to your door knock or if they're not interested in your door knock, right, let's say they are interested in selling their houses 6 months later, by that time, they do not remember your door knock. They do not remember you exist. There's nothing you can actually do yourself, right? You can't run an ad again. You can't send them an email. Unless you get their contact information, which is extremely, extremely rare, right? There's nothing you can do. That's it for door knocking. The half time, the half-life is very, very low. Now, with this strategy that we just covered, you're gonna have a long half-life. The reason why, right, is because with AI is going to be able to run that ad. You can run another ad, another ad. Let's say they become your lead. You get the contact information. You can call them again. You can send them an email. Or even if they just come to your funnel, right, you can put them through a strategy, retarget them over and over and over again. Additionally, the type of marketing that you're doing, right, it is not pushy. It is not something where you're using a lot of sales tactics. You have to force people to almost do it. It is something that's more attraction based, right? Because with each video, you're going to be providing value. You're going to be providing statistics, especially in the retargeting, right? You can create some valuable content, valuable guides, all valuable tips, all these different things, right? So you have a long-term actual impact on the person, and it is actually based on goodwill instead of you kind of forcing them to do a listing appointment or having to tell like half lies to actually get them to a listing appointment, right? So this strategy has a long half-life. It takes a long time. You can actually do a long amount of things. You can actually target them again and again and again until they're ready to become your clients. And that is again problem with door knocking, right? We don't have any of that. You just go there and door knock. Maybe you can send them a mailer, right? But that's about it. You don't have any tools. You don't have the chainsaw like we talked. You only have the butter knife to actually convert them later on. And the truth is with real estate transaction, right, it's not a short game. It is not a thing where I door knock on your house, right? I'm like, oh yeah, let's just sell my house right away, right? It takes a long time. I'm starting to think about selling a house. Maybe a couple months go by, maybe 6 months go by. And so a lot of listings are just lost in this door knocking process later on, like a year later, 2 years later, 5 years down the road, right? You're not going to be door knocking there every single day, right? You don't have the capacity to really door knock on people every single house, or they'll get annoyed by that. But again, with social media, with online marketing, you just do that over and over again. So you have a long half-life with the strategy, and over the long term here, you can actually build a personal brand because people see you over and over again. So actually get recognized. A lot of the homeowners actually come to yourself, right? And they actually refer your business as opposed to, again, door knocking. Technically, yes, that could happen. But again, you are in a more pushy salesperson type of position. So again, that's why this strategy that we just covered is a lot more superior compared to door knocking, especially if you do this well. It's more scalable, takes you less time. And in addition to that, you have a lot more leverage over the long term when you build your real estate business.